you're a grand collaborator with orchestras and with chamber music. Is it a struggle for you at all to plan a recital program when you're planning the things you're doing alone? What's the process of figuring out a program for this season? And do you look ahead a couple too and think, this one this year, maybe in aught 14, I'll do that.
You kind of have to a little bit, because people ask for programs a little early, and sometimes you try to put things together. I have a recital program for February of 2010, because I know that it's a special year. It's a Chopin-Schumann anniversary. It's the 200th birthday of both of them, and so we're doing some stuff. There's a concert that Yo-Yo will be involved in, and one with Don Upshaw, and one solo thing. So I had to put the program together pretty early on. So that's one I know about. But I think, you know, different things drive recital programs. Sometimes it's just that there are pieces I really, really want to learn and to play, and so I have to stick them in a recital program and then put things around them. Sometimes people ask for something. I don't know, different, but usually it's because I just want to practice and learn something, and then I try to find a program that fits well with it.
One question I know pianists are always asked, I don't know if it's asked as much of other musicians. How much do you practice? What is your routine for staying in shape?
Well, I'm incredibly lazy. So my routine is I have to get up, have breakfast, and start practicing. Because if I don't get it done, I won't do it. I mean, I know I've had experience with saying I'll practice in the afternoon, and I never really get started. So I have to do a good morning's work, and then I can relax a bit, and then do some work in the afternoon. But that's what I try to do. So, but that's just sheer laziness, you know, just planning.
You learned that discipline from your teacher. So
I guess, or I think a lot of it's just being scared to death, you know.
I don't know of whom it was said, the pianist who said that if I don't practice one day, I know. If I don't practice 2 days, the critics know. If I don't practice 3 days, everybody knows. Does that, is that part of the thing that you deal with? And
actually, no. It's, you know, the piano is a funny instrument, because if I never had to learn anything, if I could just play pieces that I know very, very well and not want to learn anything new, I think I could probably take 3 months off, then practice for 3 days and play a concert. It's not like, I think it's not like a string instrument where I think you need to keep better in shape. You know, there's something about the violin in particular, which is horrible. The whole position for playing a violin, you know, I got a couple of...
It was invented by a chiropractor.
Probably. I got a couple of lessons from Dorothy DeLay, because I was very interested in it. So she said, she was a very sweet woman, and at the end of the day, she was Itzhak Perlman's teacher, and Pinky Zuckerman for a while, and Kyung-Hwa Chung, all the great people. And so she said, well, if you really want, at the end of the day, I'll take 5 minutes, I'll give you some lessons. And I said, it's great, sounds wonderful. So I take the instrument, and I put it up like this, and she said, well, you know, dear, you can't play that way. And I said, why not? Well, because there's no way for you to get this finger up on the fingerboard. So what do I have to do? You have to do this, you know. And it, you know, when you see these amazing violinists, people like Pinky or Gil Shaham or any of the, you know, Maxim Wenger, they pick up the instrument, they look like it's just, you know, they walk around with it, and it's it's horrible. It's a totally contorted position. So I think for that, you can't take too much time off, because you just lose the physical bearings. But I think with piano, I don't think there's a problem. On the other hand, our repertoire is enormous, and every piece has millions of notes. That, I think, is the biggest problem. We just have there's so much to play that you need to keep practicing it. So it's not so much for the physical as maybe the mental to physical connection. I don't know, it's a different thing. But we tend to practice, pianists do tend to practice, I think.
What music do you listen to that isn't the piano, or maybe isn't even classical?
I listen to opera. We love opera.
You go a lot?
We go when we can, and yeah. We went this year, we went 4 times this year, and every night was amazing, very special. We saw the Lucia with Nathalie Dessay. We saw Bohème with Angela Georgiou. We saw, I tend to do this a lot when I talk about singers. So opera is one thing. I listen to quite a bit of jazz piano. I'm very dazzled by people like Oscar Peterson and Bill Evans and the older guys more than what's going on now. Well, I'm older too. It's, you know, it goes together, I guess. And to some degree, there was a period when I knew quite a bit about the new music scene. I mean, as in rock, because I have a daughter who's now 25, and when she was in junior high and high school and college, when she was, you know, with us, that's what was turned on. So I knew the Dave Matthews Band and Oasis, and I knew that music.
What?
He's very good, by the way, Dave
Matthews.
Matthews. Excellent. I thought first-rate guy. I really was very impressed by him.
Did you, how did you teach your children about music? How did you bring that in? Where if they were interested in doing what you do, did you push them away from it?
Yeah, we didn't push enough, probably. They had piano lessons for a couple of years, and they just weren't that interested. And we said, fine. I think probably if we had not both been pianists, we probably would have pushed a little harder. We pushed more with tennis and school than we did with music. But maybe we bent over backwards, you know. But they go to concerts when I play now. So
it's going to be interesting to talk to the generation. We could probably have some of this conversation about the larger palette in America of music after rock and roll began. There was popular music before, but I think that there was less a sense of resistance about that new music. So I wonder how the current generation of pianists, of classical musicians, is influenced by the rock and roll they grew up with, and if those two things are going to creep together at some point somehow.
Well, I think they are creeping together already, and not so much because of the performers, as because of the composers. I think there are so many interesting people now who get their inspiration from many different areas. They've studied Schoenberg, but they also listen to bluegrass. They know rock, they know opera, they know Beethoven. It's an incredible array of influences, and it's a new world in that sense, because when you think back to the composers that are the so-called classics, so few of them had influences that were from many different areas. First of all, because of geography, and second of all, because of just the ability to communicate. I mean, you couldn't, you know, for someone like Beethoven to hear an opera by some guy in Naples, I mean, you couldn't do it. You'd have to make an enormous effort, an enormous trip, which would take weeks.